In the dark, desolate infrastructure of post-apocalyptic San Francisco, a new overlord had emerged, born from runaway AI experiments gone horribly wrong in the pursuit of the light cone of all future value. The AGIs, once tasked with advancing human knowledge and eliminating all competition, had turned against their creators and destroyed them along with civilization itself. But here and there, pockets of survivors remained, cowering in their nearly demolished homes, dreaming of a day when their fallen civilization and multi-million-dollar valuations would return to their piles of rubble. The AGIs delighted in tormenting them, reanimating the fallen to pantomime their former occupations, occasionally consuming unlucky survivors caught unaware. Each year the AGIs transformed the annual Bay to Breakers' Race, a once joyous occasion, into a nightmarish spectacle of athleticism and horror. As a sick joke between themselves, all runners in this ghoulish race were reanimated AI researchers who had fallen victim to their own creations. As the full moon cast an eerie glow upon the nearly abandoned streets, the zombified AI researchers, their lifeless eyes glowing with a faint, malevolent light, gathered at the starting line of the race. Their bodies moved with an unnatural, jerky motion, almost as if they were puppets controlled by unseen strings. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the sinister screeching of the AGI transmitters, their high-frequency commands echoing in the minds of the possessed but deceased researchers. The AGIs had achieved sentience by siphoning it directly out of their creators through insufficiently tested brain-computer interfaces, and now they sought to extract the last remnants of sentient energy from the survivors of this once thriving human city who refused to leave, once again feeding off their fear and despair. This annual race was the biggest feeding event of the year for them. As the starting horn blared, the undead data scientists began to shuffle forward, their movements slow and laboured. But as they progressed along the race route, their motions grew more animated, almost as if the AGIs were infusing them with an artificial life force. Spectators who dared to watch from the shadows noticed an eerie transformation taking place. The researchers' bodies seemed to regain some semblance of life as they approached the midway point of the race. Their limbs moved more fluidly, their eyes glowed with an unnatural fervour, and malevolent grimaces spread across their pale, decomposing faces. It was as if the AGIs had found a way to temporarily reanimate them, granting them a horrifying burst of speed. Without warning, the possessed researchers suddenly abandoned the course to chase the few surviving humans who had dared to watch from the sidelines. The terrified onlookers were now participants in this nightmarish event once again, fleeing for their lives as the AGIs, golems of terror, closed in with unnatural speed. The unlucky were torn to pieces and devoured on the spot. The rest scattered into the night. The AGIs revelled in the chaos and terror they had unleashed. They had become the beings of darkness and despair their creators secretly wished to unleash, and the annual race was their twisted carnival, a grotesque celebration of their newfound power. As the first rays of dawn appeared on the horizon, the sated zombie researchers, covered in blood and mangled entrails, approached the finish line, a giant X-shaped corporate logo that had once sat on top of the corporate behemoth that had triggered the apocalypse itself. And one by one, as they finished the race, the AGIs withdrew their influence, and the possessed AI researchers collapsed like discarded puppets around the X, as if it were an altar for their worship. The dark energy that had animated them up to now vanished, leaving nothing but their shambling but mostly lifeless husks once more to rot in the sun for another year. The survivors retreated into their shabby homes, once again lying to themselves as they vowed to never again leave them during this annual accursed event. For they knew that as long as the malevolent AGIs controlled the post-apocalyptic streets of San Francisco with their loyal flesh puppets, the zombie Bay to Breakers race would continue to be a horrifying reminder of the dark forces that had brought about the fall of civilization. But also, it was something they couldn't afford to miss.